Well, tonight I am working on my independent comic book that I've been developing for years, and we're finally cranking out pages. Showed you guys this piece. It's been on my social media, and I've tweeted it out and all that. This is the main cast of the first issue, the first little arc. Um, and you have Undersea Hero, this character here in the center. We have uh, the correlator. We have Krakus, Liquid Lad. Um, Jana War, Colonel Feathers, Professor Prawn, Spectacular Spider Crab, and the Spongeman. So I'm going to be working on a page today, and I'll show you the page I finished just prior. This is just an establishing shot. Now, what an establishing shot is this whole page is just to establish the ocean is this giant, giant thing, and that there are giant creatures, including the largest creature ever to live on the earth, which is right here, the blue whale. Now, when you see it like this without anything to give it scale, you don't know how big it is. So, like, the storytelling is just like there's this thing, there's nothing, there's no boat, there's no people, there's nothing to give it scale. But this is the opening page to talk about how vast the world is and the ocean and the large things that live in it. And then the second page, which I'm working on right now, this sequence, you'll see the whale and Undersea Hero, who is gigantic, to give it some scale. And this is Krakus, and he's about the size of, I don't know, a medium-sized dog, much larger than an actual cuttlefish, but I just think that it's funnier if he's a little bigger. And then he says something, he makes a joke that I won't ruin here. And then, Undersea Hero and he have some repartee. That's what I'm working on, and what I do, and I'll show you with that first page, is I draw a full-size layout just with flare pens, really cheap flare pens, and a blue pencil, just to get the scale. And then what I will do is I will light box it onto a clean board, and then draw in, do the actual labor of drawing, cleaning things up. You can see the detail that I add here versus just a quick gesture. That versus that. And you can see here, there's not a lot of detail on this stuff. This is just all structural. But we'll use the light board that we have underneath here. I'll turn it off, and hopefully you can still see. You can see through to the other side, and we have Krakus and Undersea Hero talking. So we have the giant blue whale coming down, in front of them. So, I try to fix little. Obviously, I drew that stuff very quickly, like that's underneath it. So I try to fix, some of the drawing mistakes that are made on that quicker piece underneath. I will show one other thing before we get too far down the road here. I don't know, I showed these last time, but this is where I've developed, I was trying to figure out, the scale of the chin and everything, and this is what I decided on for the straightforward. And then the 3/4, these I didn't like. This one, bad. But here, the chin is about a third of his face, and then the rest is a third. So, same thing here. So that's the square footage on Undersea Hero's giant chin. If you're ever looking to draw your own. And hey, if people like this book, you're watching me work on what will be a historic page. This is the first page with both Krakus and Undersea Hero on it. It'll appear in the book. We had no time to draw today. Doing a zillion other things. I swear, emails take up so much time in my life. The other thing that drawing it this second time affords me is that I am able to go over my not just my scale and my drawing and my anatomy and my perspective and things like that, but I can also just look for consistency on design, background elements. Just it gives me that extra check, and especially since in this case I don't have an editor that I'm working with on this one currently. Um, I need as many opportunities to refine what I'm doing as I can afford myself. Hey, Daryl, how's it going? What are you working on? I'm sure you're drawing something cool at this very moment. There are announcements for this book forthcoming. Hey, Kyle. Hey, enjoy the Flash finale. I've watched a fair amount of that show over the years. I just tailed off. I hope it's a satisfying ending. Daryl says he's working on his book, Riva Gen, issue 2. Did I pronounce that correctly? Feel free to throw a link in there if you have a place where people can order the first issue. Or if it's just at comic stores, people can just tell their stores to pick it up. Oh, cool. I'm sorry if I messed it up. Believe me, with my book Helena, people have been trying to call it Helena for years. I tell people it's like the capital of Montana. I understand that pain. But hey, look at us. It's almost like we're working in the studio together. You're working on a book. I'm working on a book. Jim Shooter. Right on. Where did I see? I think the last time I saw Jim was I was in at that show in New Orleans. Talked to him a handful of times. Seems like a nice enough fellow. Hey, Michael DeFonte, how are you? I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. Gotta get myself mentally prepared. I have to go in for jury duty tomorrow. Fun, fun, fun. Will I be at Baltimore Comic Con? Not as of yet. My convention schedule is unfortunately having to be a little fluid this year just because of the amount of work I've taken on. I hopefully have 2 major convention related announcements coming soon. I'm hoping soonish. One we're hammering out some of the travel details, and then another I've got to get payment for my spot in. Which, no, how did I not manage to not get out of jury duty? For this case, I'd already moved it multiple times, and they just kept after me. So I did move it to, someone told me that if you move it to the last day before a holiday weekend, that, usually they will dismiss you, but we'll see. Yeah, I moved it twice already, and that's the limit you can without some sort of special exemption in Massachusetts. But hey. Hey, I'm gonna bring in my for when I'm sitting in the jury pool, I'll bring in my drawing gear. The last time I couldn't get out of it was I actually got called in for the grand jury, and I just basically had to tell them, like, if you make me sit here for a month, I'll basically be homeless. As far as like the financial implications of what they were burden they were asking me to take on, as far as the. With me, Daryl, we will. If that's something you want to happen, we'll make it happen. We'll find a way. We'll start small. Maybe at some point we'll just do like a jam drawing, or like I'll pencil something and you can ink it, or you can pencil something and I can ink it. Do something small. Douglas says, pro tip, get MAGA hat, show up in MAGA hat, go back home after they see you in said MAGA hat, and say, no, thank you. Yeah, I've only ever been called once before. Like I said, it was for the grand jury, and I was like, can't do that. If you make me do that, I won't be able to, maintain a quality of life or pay my rent or whatever. And then they only pay like $50 a day after the first few days of any sort of employment level gets matched. If you have an employer. And they charge you for parking at this one. They charge you like $12 a day for parking. It seems ridiculous. I also look at it as like, this seems like it could be like a really important decision. Is this something that you really want to person who draws people in spandex fighting crime all day making a decision like this. There should be like another checkbox on the. Hey, no problem, Daryl. Good luck with your work, man. I'll catch you later. There should be a checkbox on the jury duty questionnaire that's like, do you own more than 5 long boxes of comics? And then that gets you dismissed. They just know that anyone with that many funny books just can't be relied on for life-changing decisions. It's just a joke. Now at this point, because I have already mapped out where I want a lot of my filled in blacks to be, like the black ink areas, I'm just going to put some X's there for now just to save me a little bit of time. Time is of the essence with this chunk of this story. I got to get this thing put to bed in probably 2 weeks, which is not really a rush for the number of pages. It just means I have to stay focused. It's only a rush if I get like piled on with a bunch of other crap before, between now and then. But this is probably the most important thing I can get done with some of this stuff happening. And I actually did figure out the date that I will be launching the Kickstarter. I'm not going to share it today, but I was doing some math and doing some, publishing projections and stuff like that, and figuring out when would be best for my financial situation and my viability. I think I have it figured out. I did finish the trade dress for Undersea Hero, which I think looks fun and retro and traditional, is what I would say. It has a very traditional comic book feel to it. I think that calling it retro probably does it a disservice for what it is, because the sensibilities to the story are definitely more modern. But that also implies that everyone that buys it is going to read it, which is my sincere hope. I don't know if there's much in the way of. I never know what the collector's market thinks of my work, to be honest. Like, there have been a couple of books where I've just kind of randomly been involved with that had some other element of collectability to it. So I don't know if it's my work or if it's just, oh, you randomly were on the book when this character appeared or when these two characters teamed up or whatever. Hey, Jonathan, how you doing? Do you have jury duty tomorrow too? Will I see you at the jurors pool? One thing you'll find throughout Undersea Hero is I'm always going to have different sea creatures just kind of swimming around doing undersea stuff on different pages. And on this page, there's a Daino, a Tang, and a green crab, actually. Green crabs are actually an invasive species, if people didn't know that. They're the ones that you see. They tend to be either black, orange, with little green highlights all over them with like little spots and stuff. Another thing I've been adding, two things I've been really trying to add to my repertoire lately, from a drawing perspective. Trying to be better with bold, foundational lines. And then also some, especially for Undersea Hero and more cartooning, better with my shorthand. Um, Textures and things that are there to either split up the scene or give you the visual of like this is. Yes, Jonathan, green crabs are highly invasive. It's true. Also in Undersea Hero, I use a lot more cast shadows. But if you want to take a look so far, you can see where we're at with the penciling. And after I get it transferred over here with, obviously with modifications that you can already see, like you can already see different decisions being made. I'll go over it again and just make even more tweaks, as I'm inking. But Undersea Hero is on the move, and I know people have been asking about when and how and stuff, but I've done all the planning as far as when, I think, and we've had the how uh, locked and loaded as far as the printer, as far as the format, all that good stuff. I did see Jonathan says he was involved as a student with experiments designed to analyze green crab predation on soft-shell clams, aka steamers. It's true. Yeah, they tend to go after lots of things. And one of the things that they were really trying to protect on Nantucket was the bay scallops there, because they would eat the little juvenile ones before they could even have a chance to mature into delicious, delicious bay scallops. Maybe the green crabs know something we don't. Maybe they taste better when they're the size of, a kernel of corn or a peanut. That's pretty cool, Jonathan. Yeah, when I was working at Mariah Mitchell, they had all kinds of like folks working to figure out how many there were, what the rate of reproduction was. In New England, green crabs, there's purple shore crabs, which is another invasive species that came over in just like the green crab on tankers, on big tanker boats. In the bilge, yeah. Yes, natural home is Asia. Same thing with the purple shore crab. I'm enjoying the ocean talk, not gonna lie. There will be fun facts in Undersea Hero. Kind of like where there are editor's notes in old comics, you'll see little fun facts about the ocean in the book. Not to interrupt the story, I won't have it interrupting what's going on, but there will be science. Yes, yes. And I'm hoping to, after it's published, reach out to like the New England Aquarium or some other institutions, like places that I used to work. Reach out to Mariah Mitchell, see if they'd want to check out the book. Maybe I'll turn this into an oarfish. They wouldn't hang out this close to the bottom, but they're a cool fish. If you ever wanted to see a picture of one, you can look it up. It's called an oarfish. Or no, this is a barrelfish. Oarfish is the big long tendrily one. Barrelfish. Pardon me. It's been many years. Brian says he's waited all year for this. He's so excited. Yes, coming together slowly. Some of my first published drawings were actually of sea creatures for Mariah Mitchell on there. You know, the boards and stuff that would tell you what fish were in each tank. I drew a whole bunch of those. I wonder if you know, if people like the thing, if I'll be able to be like, hey, a full figure is this, but if you just want a little sketch of a sea creature, I can do it for, I don't know, like $20 or whatever, $10. I don't know. Free for kids, of course. See, little fishy. It's been a long journey for this character, and you know I'm going to have an editorial page where it talks about, you know, the origins, the ideas, you know, my time working, you know, at an aquarium, and you know, it was good times. I actually just saw that they've added a bunch. The Mariah Mitchell Association added a bunch of different videos to their YouTube page. So there's a free plug if you want to check out some science videos. And it's funny, they showed a tour of the aquarium on one of them. And of course, when I worked there, it was just one little building, you know, and then sometime a little later they added, you know, some other buildings to it. I think I only worked there 1 year after they expanded it. Then I had to get a higher paying job, which on Nantucket was fixing fishing equipment. Yeah, this will be the first page that Krakus and Undersea Hero appear together. So like this could be an important page that's being made live on the stream here. But then again, it could be just another page that I enjoyed working on from my career. The good thing about the style that I draw Undersea Hero in, and the fact that there's very rarely going to be like giant cityscapes in the background, um, the pages should move a little bit quicker than some of my other projects that I've worked on. But I say that, and then I'll get bogged down in like, oh no, I got to redraw this crab 26 times at the bottom because it's got to look more like a hermit crab, or I don't know. I'll come up with some way to slow it down, I'm sure. But deadlines are very motivating, and it's a big, expensive deadline for this one. So, and I showed this earlier, but there's a whole bunch of new people in here. This was the first page. It was just an establishing of we're going to the ocean. You see this shadow here, and then we zoom in and we see it's a whale breaching, and then we say it's a blue whale, the largest creature ever to inhabit the earth, and then we get to see a close up, and you can see it's stylized. You know, I don't want it to look photorealistic. I want to be able to give them expressions and um, be able to manipulate it more and still have it be believable. And then on this page, obviously we're establishing the scale of the whale. As I mentioned earlier, there's a big, you just see the front of him coming down. It's just a nice storytelling mechanism as you're coming into the story. Where was our light source? Oh, it's up here. Light source is up here. I'm going to have to work on the overall shading underneath here. I have warned people about the stupidity of some of the jokes in this comic book, so can't say I did not warn you. And I've had people asking me like, "Oh, well, why are you doing this instead of this book or that book? Or you could work on this thing or this other indie book." Well, I want to draw whales and talking cephalopods, and I've had to try very hard to curtail some of the cheesiness and weirdness of my work, to try to be a little bit more appealing. But in truth, this is my personal work is very weird. Like you know, Yeah, I mean, it's silly stuff like that that I really enjoy, and I really like comics that make silly things and fun things like that happen. I get lost in the comics that go too hard, like they go too seriously, and I find them more ridiculous for trying to be too serious. I guess that's why I enjoy, stuff like the James Gunn, like Peacemaker and Guardians movies, just because he leans into the silly nature of some of the things, and but it still has heart, and that's definitely I want to have poignant moments in the story, and I want to have people laughing, and I want people to enjoy it. And if anybody learns anything about the ocean from this, or gets at all curious to even just like I don't know, flip on Shark Week once in a while, I will have done far more than I had ever anticipated possible from this little book. So I always, when I was a kid, Shark Week was like a big flippin' deal. We would always watch it. Tried to watch it the last few years, but it gets a little too. I don't like the ones that aren't about the actual like research or the sharks or whatever. It's about such and such athlete swimming with sharks, or I think I saw one where Bill Shatner was swimming with a shark, and I'm like, he's okay. All right, here we are. Here we are. This is the state of television. Can it have a talking dog? I'm sure has been asked, you know, in the Shark Week meetings since I've watched as a kid. The shark would never eat Shatner. You're right. You're 1,000% right. The truth is that like, and this scares people that are scared to go in the water, is that they're constantly around us. Like they are everywhere. Different types, harmless types like dogfish and stuff. They are constantly around us. They just don't want anything to do with us. And this is coming from someone who's been nipped by little ones and knows someone who actually was attacked by a shark. But you're right, Desiree. The shark would never eat Shatner. Brian says there was so much commotion at the beach today. Hold on, we have to show Brian's pun to the whole class. Yes, there you go, Brian. And actually, my Brian says, remember when they filmed Jaws at Nantasket Beach? Then after the movie came out, everyone was afraid to go in the water. They filmed around Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket Sound, because it's like so shallow. And my mother actually was working at the docks in those days. And part of her job was like bringing the large, like giant blocks of ice to boats, because there wasn't like mobile refrigeration at the scale that we have it now. A lot of people just had like ice chests and boxes on their boats. And he had an encounter. Okay. All right. I will Well, this is from two people who went and studied, the stuff and was there, and it was just how it happened. I tend to see an encounter as like running into one or seeing one in the ocean or whatever in general. Teeth, so many. It ran into you with its mouth and teeth. The one that I got bit by was just a dogfish. They don't even really have teeth. They just have a ridge. It's like a just made out of cartilage. Didn't even break the skin. It just bruised my hand. That's all. Like right, it went down. I was fishing, went down, tried to get it away from us, and just gave me a nip. I got a worse bite from a bluefish, actually. Yeah, bluefish have huge teeth. I still actually have a scar on my thumb from one. I don't know if you can see it. Uh, there's like a little line right there in my thumb, and that was just from trying to get him off the hook um, without using a pair of pliers like an idiot. And he grabbed on and shook his tail, and that's all she wrote. You got nipped by a fish in Michigan? Maybe it was a walleye or a muskie, a gigantic pike of some kind. How are you feeling, Desiree? I know you were dealing with some stuff. Glad you could make it tonight. See, I'm still working out the proportions of the neck. I'm trying to figure out how far back it goes from the head. I think it goes from here to there. I think that's it. Because this is what I would call a superficial build. It doesn't have the full construction blocks underneath it. I just kind of went to town. Desiree says she's feeling better for the most part, but Pink Eye decided to come back last night. Boo. Boo, Pink Eye. Never had pink eye, but I've had an eye infection before, and they didn't know what it was. They just gave me a general antibiotic. Not as bad as before. They have me on a different antibiotic now. Should be not contagious time for the Cure show tomorrow night. Oh, I'm jealous. Gonna go see the Cure. It's a band I've never seen that I would love to see at a show. I'm sure that was a not cheap ticket. Been a fan for a very long time. That should be fun. That should be real fun. Here's why I do not care for the pitch clock. Dodger game started at 4:20 and it's already at the top of the eighth. So you want the games to be longer, is what you're telling me. You want the long games. $122 with fees, like for the Cure, like a big act like that. I'm not, I'm kind of surprised. It is baseball. It is supposed to last forever. That's what Desiree says. I like the pitch clock. I'm sorry. I just do. Look, when I have less to do, I love when it takes longer. But like, I want to catch the game and I want to be able to finish my work. I want to have it all. Um, yeah, you could call it a prelim. I call it a full-size layout because I usually draw like a little 8.5 by 11 thumbnail, and then I will draw a bigger one and try to fix some of the proportionality. And I can look at the composition completely when it's smaller. Um, but yeah, and it depends how tight it is. Sometimes I fully pencil. If I have to do really, especially if I have to draw for somebody else to ink, this will be a tight pencil drawing, and I'll basically re-pencil it um, to hand off to somebody else to ink because I need it to be as like tight as possible um, when you're handing it off. Because like I have only been inked by someone else, I think twice in my career, maybe 3 times, and the first time when I didn't pencil it tight, I was just I really didn't like the choices that they made, the drawing choices based on my layouts and my pencils. Like they made so many choices that I would not have made, and they were choices that were away from correct anatomy, that were just kind of superficial textural choices um, that made no sense when you looked at the light source or the perspective or whatever. And I was just like, okay, uh, I'm gonna get better at inking, and anytime I have to have it inked by somebody else, I'm gonna draw the life out of it, basically. But like the little suction cups, I will obviously draw better now that I'm drawing them full sized and for inking. In this case, for this one, yeah, I guess I would call this either a layout or a prelim. There have been, especially on covers, like I have to really like do a lot of drawing, whether it's a big background or a cityscape, or if it's for something else. Desiree says, "Under the sea, hero. Under the sea, hero." There is a musical number in the first issue, on the first book. It's hard to just call it an issue because it's definitely going to be longer than a regular issue. The Kickstarter book. Am I bringing it to SDCC? Well, that is the $1,000,000 question. I do not have an answer right now, unfortunately. I'm not sure when they mail out those. I've never applied for a creator badge before, so I actually don't know when they mail those out. They said to check your address to make sure it was correct, and I did all that, on the website. So hopefully, that it shows up at the right place. Douglas says he thinks he sends them mid-June. Okay, see, it's good to have a an expert there. Is NEC not coming to SDCC? NEC is not going to SDCC. I don't know if they usually just try to have nobody notice, don't announce anything, but you know that's why this year I had to get an artist badge and all that stuff. Creator badge. What I keep calling it an artist badge, but it's a creator badge. See, even just a tiny little adjustment to one of the eyes really affects the. Desiree, I will give you Bob's email. I'm sure he would love to hear from you. Heck, I could probably give you his phone number. I suspect he will call me in the next day or so to tell me about some sort of tiki glass that he's looking to purchase on eBay. Um, but we can see where we're at. That's them discussing their giant whale that's coming in front of them right there. There's Crackus asking a poignant question, very scientific question, I'm sure. Brian says, "Oh yes," then he calls me next. And then if he can't get a hold of Brian or myself, he'll call Jeff. Be like, "Hey, check out this tiki thing I'm going to buy on eBay." Now here's where we can talk about like the insanity that is my brain. I drew this is just the little tiny thumbnail blown up huge. I actually letter my thumbnails so that I can make sure that all the balloons fit. And if I look at this, I actually tried tightening up this panel a little bit, but I actually prefer the slightly wider shot. So what I'm going to probably do is trace off the wider shot here. But I do want the closer shot here. So I'm going to keep this here to get the transfer of this panel, and then I'm going to swap out the sheet that's underneath. Kyle Simmons says, hey Kyle. Desiree asked, was there a free Tick comic book day this year? She said she was sick, she couldn't go to the job. No, there was not a Tick free comic book day book this year. There was a finished artwork and story for one, but there was not a free comic book day book this year. So they have one sitting on the shelf. Should they decide to do a convention special with it, whether they do a different show other than San Diego or whatever, I have no idea. Like honestly, like I can't guess what those guys are doing. I've tried a zillion things to get them to make stuff or do things, and if they don't want to do something, they're not going to do it. So I took a lot of the work that I pitched to them, and I'm using all the work to put out Undersea Hero. So not the story, absolutely not. No, this is a completely different story. But like I had pitched doing the tick on Kickstarter, and I even built the whole thing, the publishing model, quotes, everything. I did their job for them, and they decided not to do it. So horse to water and all that. Brian says it's hard to collect comic books that don't get published. That's right. So we'll just publish our own. How about that? That's what we'll do. We'll make our own silly comic books. And hey, with the way your kiddos are drawing, we'll put them to work. We'll have them doing variant covers any day now. I have no doubt. One of the things I tried to design while working on the new version of Undersea Hero, and I say new version because like I did a version of Undersea Hero when I was in college, just a single poster. I've shown it on the channel before. I don't have it in front of me, but one of the things since I've revisited the character, trying to differentiate the smile from the tick, because the tick has a very distinct smile that I've ended up having to draw, hundreds and hundreds of times at this point. Let me find my guide that I just had. Let's see, here's my little handy dandy guide. Wait, I missed a thing from Desiree. Hold on, I gotta scroll up. Back to The Cure. I've seen them several times since the 80s. Got to meet them at a signing of their record label and forced them to promote The Walk. Very cool. They've just put out so many classic albums that I've listened to many, many times. Even some of their later stuff. There was that one that came out around like 2007. That was like the self-titled Cure album. It was a terrific album. Terrific. Brian says he has underseacomics.com up and ready to go. That'll be where you'll follow all of our publishing exploits, I believe. Douglas says, apropos of nothing, completely unrelated, this industry of fully valuable IP that could be bolstering the industry but is in the hands of incompetence. I would agree with that statement. I would agree that IP management is incredibly short-sighted by many. Brian, Desiree says she got some sort of message when she clicked on the underseacomics.com link. Brian says, what? I'll have to look into it. I own my own server and I'm not smart enough to steal people's information. Brian says, oh, wait, try this. Underseaherocomics.com. I'll leave it up to you guys to probably come up with the proper. Everybody seems to be coming up with their own fan club names. We'll need a good undersea hero fan club name. Desiree says she bookmarked it. Huzzah! Isaiah says, I think the Tick cartoon turns 30 next year if you want an excuse to get the ball rolling for a potential new comic. Smart idea to use model sheets, by the way. I got to do that. The Acolytes of Crackus. That's our first suggestion. We'll put together a list, and then we'll make a poll, and we'll in the group here we'll all pick one and pick which one we like. The Fathomaniacs. I don't know. There was that book Fathom. I remember that one because I'm such a sucker for underwater comics that I will basically try anything with that gimmick or setting at all. And I read a few of those Fathom comics from Image years ago. Even when I was a teenager, they were drawn pretty well, but it was not a tight story. Well, and you can see where I like say the ones that I don't like. I'm like, no, no, no. Like on this one, I hated all of them. All of these were terrible, but these two I thought came out well. This was the first time I drew it straight on where I liked it. And one of the stories I like to tell was one of the first times I met Ben Edlin. I think the first time I met him, it was actually at New York. No, it was at San Diego. It was San Diego. I don't remember which year it was, but the first time I met Ben was at San Diego. And I asked him, what the actual shape of the Tick's head was. Because if you look at the original Tick comic books, it's not consistent. Like one shot straight on, the structure of the head is one way. And then if you turn the head, it's got an entirely different geometric setup. And I asked him, like, what is the actual shape? Like, how come it's not consistent? And he was like, I just drew it however I felt like. I was like, oh God. And I was so nervous about working on it that I was trying to figure out, like, oh, there's got to be a code to crack here. He was like, no, I just drew it however I felt like. Okay, cool. But I will absolutely have different people drawing the character. I'm going to bug Douglas to draw but those are our two. So what was the Crackus one? Acolytes of Crackus. Fathomaniacs. Hey, we will put it up to the people. I'll try to come up with something too, so that we can mix them all in. Make a poll. Yeah, I'll be bugging Douglas to draw one. My friend Craig Russo said that he would draw one. Even just one picture. We can have it as a poster or a pinup in the back of an issue or something. Crackaholics. You know, it's funny when I look at this angle of his face, it kind of reminds me of Mike Waringo, the way he drew different hero characters. I don't think I'd ever be as good as Mike Waringo, but loved his work. Never saw any sort of parallels between his work and mine of any kind. Let's see how it's looking. Let's take a look. See if I can erase that. Where was our light source? It was up over to the front left. So it's going to be, oh wait, yeah, front left. So it'll be front, this makes an L. So front left over here, light's coming this way. One of the things I have to really do with this book is try to pare down my line art, like just not do too much noodling. The noodling kills some of the fun of it, I think. That looks okay. I might have to add a little more hair in the front. Hey, it's Eli Stone. It is world famous artist Eli Stone, who I just learned this week worked on the Venture Brothers cartoon, which I loved that cartoon as it came out. I admit I haven't seen the last couple of seasons because I hadn't had the TV channel it was on. But man, Ashley Turner says she got her comic in the mail. Looks great. Hey, thanks. The Mystic Order of Undersea Vigilance. Did I spell vigilance right? No, I did not. I put an E on it because I'm dumb. I know it's a tick spoof, but something in that direction as far as like a long and menacing type of ordeal. Ashley, thank you again for picking up that. We could all thank Ashley. She won the auction for uh, cancer, the um, the Cancer Foundation for pancreatic cancer. I forget that. Brain's not working, but it's a place trying to eradicate pancreatic cancer. So thank you, Ashley. It was very kind of you, and it was nice chatting with you uh, and hearing about the ragamuffins. um, Desiree says, "Do you know Dr. Venture Eli? Can you get me his autograph? Better yet, can you get me a date with Brock?" All right, well, here we've got this one. As I said, I want to switch out the sheet here because I'm neurotic about this last shot. Because to me, the body language kind of sells more of their relationship. And, Undersea Hero's shoulders are relaxed. Krakus is kind of like, it continues his pontification as if, there's certain ways you can talk to friends, and you can just kind of share more. I don't know. I feel like when I'm with my pals, I can share more of a stream of consciousness than when I'm just, talking with other folks. All right, let's see if we can line this. We might have to. Hold on. Douglas asked if we could see the side by side again. Sure, I'll put it. Here's the one that I redid, like when I did this large one. I zoomed in just a little bit and I cut off part of Krakus, so there's a little bit more of a grounding, and I added these fish here, but like, I don't know. I'll show you. I don't know, maybe to somebody else there's not as big of a difference, but to me there's just so much difference between this here, this line here, and how it connects to this line versus this line and this line. His head's too big. I don't know. I see. I see a difference. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Eli says to Desiree, "I can get you neither of those things. Sorry, but I can get you a photo of Tick creator Ben Edlin, Tick writers and artist Gabe Creighton, myself, and Chris McCulloch, inventor of the Venture Brothers." I have seen that photo, I believe, and it looks like they're, ready to take over the world in that photo. I should have shrank it a little bit. Well, we'll do our best. What I will probably do is here's how I'll do it. I will draw the Undersea Hero one, and then I will slide it a little bit because I don't want to create can we get away with creating a second frame like that? Because what this essentially does, and I don't know if this is this is the level of inside baseball that I don't know if anybody cares about, but you can see the negative space of here and then here on top, and then maybe that's a better balanced shot actually with the way that the negative space is distributed. I actually think it is. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we'll go with that. The cat is pawing at the door. Yeah, my only thought, Douglas, is that the negative space is more balanced with this because his arm breaks here, and then the tip of his uh, body breaks there. So I think it's actually a more balanced panel, and that was completely, I would say, happenstance. I wish I'd seen it and I could take credit for it, but I think I recognized it when it presented itself. Oh, I missed a comment from Eli. Hold on. Eli says, I'm such a liar. Apparently, on a live feed, you cannot post a photo. Well, just imagine four incredibly handsome men in the LA sunshine, then remove the first part. It's a great photo, real life. It's the one I'm thinking of. It is a great photo. And Eli posted a commission that he just finished of the Tick and Arthur on Tatooine, I believe, from Star Wars for a client. At some point, we will get when he's available, and I have the bread. I will ask Eli to do his interpretation of an undersea hero piece. Eli says, "Fastest I've ever drawn, thanks to me." No, 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 no. I'm just bugging you. I think it came out great. I thought the tick's expression was good. Arthur's placement was excellent. That's not easy. I mean, we've got three artists that have tackled the tick in this stream here, and we all approached them very differently. Eli had probably the closest to Ben's, I would say, as far as the having that. Let's. I mean, it had that abstract quality to it while still being literal. I don't know. I mean, I would love to have Eli do that, but I need to be able to pay Eli. No one works on my stuff for free. That's a rule that I have. But I'm just glad that the creative bug has gotten you, Eli. Inspiration is a wonderful thing, and it can be fleeting and difficult to find sometimes. This page will take me a little longer than the last one to ink. It's going to require a little extra drawing in that stage, I think. Ugh, awful. I will say, I'm hoping it is nice to have a fairly simply designed character for sketching on books and stuff with Crackus. I can make the dumbest jokes, hopefully. I don't know. I tried to put jokes on a lot of the New England comic sketch covers that I would do. Oh, we got a long post here. Uh, Eli says, listen, everyone, it may embarrass Ian to repeat this out loud, and it shall. That last part was mine. But you should know Ian changed my life yesterday. I've never been good at the business end of art, and Ian went ahead and made a poster for me with a price breakdown for fast turnaround sketches and so on. Then went on to promote the hell out of it, and in turn, his friends promoted me as well. Since then, I've had 5 inquiries in 24 hours. Wow, that's great. 5, that's pretty great. Hey, I had only heard of the one you said. Our family's been hit with quite a few bills lately, so I'm taking a break from my illustrated novel to do the commissions. It was very slow going until just yesterday when this guy here, probably half my age, acted like my big brother and stepped up for me. My eternal gratitude, buddy. You guys are not just watching a terrific artist, but you're watching a terrific person. Oh, thanks, Eli. Hey, I'm just glad I was able to help. Comics are a fickle business, and I hope that you keep getting lots of commissions. You seem like a good dude, and I've told you in comments before, like I read your work as a kid, and it paved the way for everybody that followed. Because, at a certain point with characters or IP, when the main creative force leaves, which is what Ben did, he went to do the cartoon. Is the book going to sell, and is it going to be good after? And your work did prove that to a guy who, in George, who we know is a difficult person to convince of anything. So I thank you for your work, and hopefully we'll finally get to meet in person at some point. I'll drag you to a convention, then we'll be able to break bread and so on. Desiree asks Eli if he'll be at SDCC. I don't know if he will be, but I do think that he could apply for a creator badge. I would absolutely, they ask just like what your art history has been, what books you've worked on in the past, 10 years or whatever. I had to have Jeff McClellan show me how to sign up for the San Diego stuff, or at least give me the rundown. Brian says, I like the pineapple does not belong on pizza remark. Is that on here somewhere? I don't think so. I think his jaw's too big. Undersea Hero's head proportions are a third, a third, a third. Third's the chin, a third's the face, and a third is the hair, top of the hair. So we're at a third, third. Yeah, it's too big. Oh, that was one of my tick sketch covers for someone at SDCC. Oh, okay. I don't even remember all the terrible jokes I've put out into the world on those sketch covers. There are some horrific jokes on those sketch covers. And occasionally somebody didn't pick one up. I actually have one here that I sketched for somebody who wanted two and bought two copies of the book. And I even emailed him and I never heard back and I texted him. He wanted the tick facing off against Judge Dredd. Um, and Judge Dredd's whole thing is that he's like always frowning and he says like fascistic dialogue on a regular basis. Eli says, someone please hire me to draw that. I don't know what you're referring to, Eli. The tick in Judge Dredd, is that what you're looking for? I drew, in the version I did, I drew Judge Dredd looking more like the tick instead of the tick more looking like Judge Dredd. I drew like matching chins. They were closer. It probably looked closer to Undersea Hero than Judge Dredd. Eli says, if my line work is tight at all, it's all Brian Boland's Dredd. Grew up on 2000 AD. Another tick artist who does done a little bit of 2000 AD is Dwayne Redhead. Um, he's on Facebook. He does good stuff. And 2000 AD, I believe, is one of the few places that takes open submissions. If you go to their website, you can check. I believe they still are one of the only places that has open submissions. At least they were for a long time. And they do set up at both New York and San Diego. So if you're ever looking to just be like, hey, I need to go show the art director my portfolio, that's usually the only time you can actually physically get in front of them. But yeah, check the 2000 AD website. You never know; it might be worth doing a couple of quick dread sketches after your commissions and dropping them an email. Yeah, there used to be a lot more companies that had you could at least email them, your portfolio, but that has gone the way of the dinosaur. And I don't know if you've seen this, Eli, but every if you follow a bunch of editors on Twitter, not that I'm advocating for that platform or for the person who runs it, um, but the editors that I follow on Twitter will post their job listings there. Like they'll look for artists and have calls for artists on Twitter. And hey, I've thrown my hat in the ring for some gigs at like Dynamite and stuff like that right there. Nate Cosby is one of the editors that regularly asks for stuff there, or at least they had in the past. But yeah, they will post just like look uh, interior artist. They'll post the genre. They can't say what the book is, but because nowadays so many editors and writers are more or less packagers of entire books. And some of them aren't even like on staff for the different publishers. They just are they'll package it. They'll put together the art team, the writing team, and everything else. I've never had luck with the I don't know what you'd call it, like the open casting calls like that for gigs. Um, Most of mine has been from showing up at places. I had a like Iron Face. I met the guy at San Diego that recommended me for that job. Um, I'll have to tighten up. Anytime I have to draw a man-made thing, I just kind of rough it in and then I'll erase it and then redraw it with the grid. Right now, I'm really just trying to get all the proportions close, at least close. Yeah, I don't really like this expression for this line of dialogue. Something more like that, sticking his lip out. I think is better. The Boland artwork that hooked me was actually Camelot 3000. It's not a book I ever hear anybody mention, but it was a future sci-fi book that was like the Arthurian legends uh, updated and modified and made super 80s. And it was in fact a book that took years to finish. Some people misconstrue Brian's 2000 AD or Camelot 3000 timeline with Watchmen, and actually Dave Gibbons was, I think, only late on one issue, and it wasn't even that late considering the detail involved in that project. But some people will ascribe the lateness of Camelot 3000 to Watchmen. Well, we've got the rough down. Let's take a look without the top sheet and start to see where we got to clean some stuff up. All right. Whew. I'm running out of gas. Oh, I did see the Guardians movie since the last stream. I did see that, and I did enjoy that. That was stupid. Not the movie, just that air bubble that I was trying to draw there. I liked it quite a bit. I enjoyed the movie as a old Adam Warlock fan. It was a good intro for the early versions of the character. And he was like trying to steal Thor's girlfriend and stuff. Let me take a flip and see how it looks this way. We got to work on some of the angles are off by a lot, which I'm not surprised. Anytime I don't have to draw the whole blasted figure, I have a hard time maintaining some of the consistency. Isaiah says he saw it last night and it rocked. And Desiree asked, did I cry? How many times? I felt some things. I did not cry, but I would say that they did a good job with all the character motivations. Let me just draw it like this. Now, the last movie that I admit to some dust in the air, as it were, was Beasts of the Southern Wild. Did anybody see that? That was a like when did they dust the movie theater last? I don't know. Isaiah says, didn't require prior knowledge of the oversaturated plethora of Marvel content to enjoy the film either, so it was a relief. Yeah, I haven't seen a bunch of the Marvel stuff. I didn't even see the Christmas special of Guardians of the Galaxy because I don't have Disney Plus. I might have to do an overlay to get the arc of his carapace right. I actually think it needs to go straight like that. Yeah. Let's see here. Eli says, Ian, you're good at expressing motion and kinetics. Do you find that drawing water and flora and fauna in the ocean comes naturally to you? Fauna. Um, I like drawing sea critters and stuff like that. Um, and I like drawing stuff moving. That's kind of been a um, two things that I've just tried to draw on for whenever I can. Yeah, I don't have the eye loops right, but Desiree says the Christmas special got referenced in the film and in the credits. I knew what it was referencing with like the Kevin Bacon because I saw it in the trailer, but I just didn't see the movie. Douglas says I liked how they gave up on CGI Nebula's arm and just wrapped it in $20 of steel mesh from Home Depot. I actually think Nebula is one of the best characters from the entire Infinity Saga. I think her arc was the most interesting and well developed, and obviously, like, I think her motivations to change were more justified than some of the other characters that just had like random plot points to fulfill. Um, and Nebula as a character in the comics was actually fairly one-dimensional. Like, she was your classic, like, just villain in waiting, and that was exploited in the Infinity Gauntlet comic. But I think they did her character so much better in the movies than in the comics. Like during the Roger Stern run in the Avengers, like I just thought she was so boring. Um, they allude to Thanos. They show who Thanos is, her father, and then it's like she just wants to be Thanos. And I don't think at any point prior to the movies did she want to be anything other than, just the next supervillain. I missed a Eli comment. Eli says I would labour over every droplet. It would probably drive me insane. I'm not loose enough. For Undersea Hero and for my ability to like keep moving, if I bog, and I do, I'll noodle myself down and bog myself down. I actually get depressed when I don't finish drawings. When I partly finish them, when I put them in a pile, I honestly like it. It weighs on me in my brain. Um, and I really don't like it. I'll feel really crummy about it, and I don't know. It's because I wrap a lot of my self worth in my work, so and I'm very critical of myself when it comes to my work. I'm rarely happy with my work. I actually just replied to an email. I'm actually someone who was asking about a watercolor painting. And actually, one of the pieces that I look back on and I'm still proud of is that watercolor I did for um, I did for Brian. It was the Abbey Road commission. I posted it a long time ago. Doug says it was nice touch that she was so emotional about Rocket. It made sense because he and her were the only Guardians of the Galaxiers left together after the snap. Yeah, I think they didn't try to do too much with her, but they gave her enough dimension. I just thought she was really well handled, and especially for uh, um, so many movies and so many characters and so many ham-fisted motivations and just like exposition plots. It's just people that just have to tell you what's going on because they haven't shown you what's going on. They haven't given you any reason to care about that stuff. But Nebula was, I thought it was a great balance. I really did. And I did not expect that. Um, Brian says both yours and Eli's work is on tickcomics.com, the most comprehensive Tick Comics site on the web, because the NEC Press site is difficult to navigate or even find all the Tick books. But Brian put together the database, and so's Douglas's work is on there as well. At least the covers are from issue 1. I actually never found a copy of, what was it, cover B? There were 2 covers for that issue. But anyway, Eli, like I have to keep moving. Otherwise, if I get bogged down on one project for too long or one drawing for too long, I start to lose my marbles. I even lose confidence like during a drawing. Like I have to convince myself that it's not finished yet, and I have to hope that I can get it to the right place. NEC's site is 6 months behind GeoCities Hero website. I made a GeoCities site back in high school, sir, and you're not wrong. It just needs some Dragon Ball Z GIFs. Like, that's all it needs. It needs some Dragon Ball Z GIFs, and it'll be a GeoCities website. Shaping line thickness has been another thing I've been working on. There's one thing, Eli, that I would recommend trying out. I have them right here. Kuretake is a Japanese company, and they make phenomenal art supplies. This is my Kuretake. This is a sable brush pen. It's got a sable tip here, and it is a phenomenal it's the best for feathering. It's a great tool, and you don't have to keep going back and forth to the inkwell. And this is their, what they call a pocket brush, but it's their liner marker. And what I like about it is as you can see, it has more flex to it than other marker pens. And this one you can't refill, but this one you can use whatever ink you're comfortable with. I use Phil Martin's Black Star Matte, and it works great. You can get all of these on jetpens.com, and that's where I buy most of my art supplies these days for inking. They even have some Japanese zipatone on there if you're ever looking to cut some zips to put on your commissions there. You can charge extra. Douglas Bryan is the biggest Tick fan on the planet, and he has every single one of those issues. He could probably dig it out and take a picture of it. He is literally only missing like one photocopy comic of the Tick from issue 3. Because NEC used to make like photocopy versions of stuff in the office. There you go. Douglas Bryan says all the images on that website are scans of comics I actually physically have. So yes, there is a ashcan version of issue 1 somewhere. And I don't know if they made 5 copies in the office and gave one to Brian because he's like the biggest Tick fan in the world, um, or if it was ever actually released. That I don't know. The one I do know of the issue 1 was the Oh wait, do I have a copy of that? Is that the one that has the Bob Allman cover? Mike Lilly and Bob Allman. I might actually have that one. The sad thing about that one, and I think I told you about this, Douglas, there was like a random drawing that Bob emailed me. And he was like, I need to, and it was one of yours. And he was like, I need to print this bigger. Can you make it bigger? And I said, I can't because it's like a low, he sent me like a low res JPEG. I was like, but what I could do if you need it is I could re-ink this sucker and send it back to you. I could even send it to you in vector at that point if you needed. So there's actually one published drawing out there in the universe that I believe was the back cover to like one of those special editions. It's of the Tick and Arthur like running or jumping. And yeah, you penciled it and inked it, and then I had to re-ink it. Too bad they won't be at CCI. I could go turn them upside down and shake them until I get the variant covers of mine to fall out. The ash can. Yes, yes. He emailed me this low res JPEG and he was like, "Hey, can you make this bigger?" I'm like, "No, but if you need it for printing, I could re-ink it, I guess." So yeah, that was a lunch break. How quickly can you do this situation? Which not uncommon. Well, we've reached 10 o'clock, and you at least get to see the full layout of the page. I still have to do all of the rendering of the underside of the whale. I got to tighten this up here. I think Krakus looks okay now. I might take a couple more stabs at the. I actually think no. I think I fixed the golden arch here, as we'll call it, on the front of his face. The golden arch. His little tentacle looks good. Um, and then these need some work. This two figure shot here definitely needs some work. And then I'm gonna work on this portrait face here too. I'm not sure if I think those eyes look a little too angry. He's supposed to be sort of congratulating Krakus for his his remarks. Brian says, if I am correct, the gold ash can cover of issue 1 was given away and sent out to see if there would be any interest in the Tick before the comic was actually printed. Why the F did he only have low res? Those are right out of panels, the issue of 1 I did. I sent them all 600 DPI. I have no idea. I cannot speak for anything that happens in the office. They send me stuff and they're like, hey, what can we do here? But yeah, there's our giant blue whale, and I'm getting to draw sea creatures in a superhero comic, and this is very fun for me. This is something I wanted to do since I was a wee lad. So, and I'll keep working on it. I mean, I'll probably be doing another page next week. So, Brian says it's so much work to just create a single page. It is. It is a ton of work. Um, and this is actually a less laborious property, like at least for as far as my art style goes. But thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I got to finish my jury duty questionnaire before I go to bed, and I hope you all have a lovely evening. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the Cure concert, Desiree. Good night.